First of all, thank you for taking the interview and for your performance. Let me ask you a few questions. And first of all, what do you think makes AI product different from traditional software in terms of business model and value for nowadays?
The main difference and the critical one is that SaaS is basically free. From a certain number of users, it doesn't cost you anymore, which means that the way you develop features, the way you do acquisition, the way it has an impact on all of those aspects. With AI, that changes because now you have computing costs, and every user, every query, every action that the user takes costs money, and that fundamentally changes the economics of the technology space. And the other big issue and the big difference, there are many others obviously, but the other big one is that AI comes with risks, which you didn't have in a deterministic way. Software, you would program it, test it, unit tests, you would write ways to check, to see if everything is right, and then if you have a bug, if you have an error, you fix it, and then you know that it's fixed forever. With AI, you can have out of 100 actions, 99 times the prompt works as expected, but the 100th time it doesn't. And that can create security issues, first of all. That can lead to much higher costs than you would expect, and many other ways in which it can go wrong.
Okay, and do you think the cost efficient of AI for now it will come long term, or time to time it will be high price and so on? So do you think now we have a chance to use?
I don't think anyone can know. If we look in history with all technologies, there is a tendency to have diminishing costs and decreasing costs as more people use it and innovations are brought into the industry. And that will probably happen. But I wouldn't count on it, and I wouldn't build a business model saying, okay, this year if we do launch this feature, it costs us 100. It's fine because next year it will only be 20. We don't know. It might be more. Yeah, it might be that energy costs. Now it's not only, like, let's say, 10 years ago. The cost of hardware decreased. Moore's law. Yeah? And you could take that for a fact. And you would buy the hardware, and then for the lifetime of it, you had a fixed cost. Now it's a variable cost. And okay, OpenAI has a cost, but it's also the energy cost.
Yes,
and if the energy prices go up by 50% next year, that will increase your costs. It's not the software that has a higher cost, but the energy consumption generated by the software. And we don't have any control over that. And the more complex the world we live in and the more geopolitical problems we have, the more that is a risk.
Okay, got you. Thank you so much. How about small tech companies? How can they balance within or between AI innovation and business sustainability when they are small and don't have enough resources?
Based on what I see around me, I don't think a small company today can do something without AI. Shouldn't. Like whether it's marketing, customer support, software development, product management, operations, there is certainly a better way to do it with AI. Sometimes a more cost-efficient way. Other times it means that you can do things that you would not have been able to do 1 year ago. Obviously, there will be people and companies that will not touch AI for 5 years from now, and they will do fine. But I see that very risky, because in most spaces, in most situations, people and companies that use AI now will be at an advantage either immediately or next year or the year after that, because things change so quickly and there are so many opportunities. And I don't know, it's like saying in the 1800s, at the beginning of the 19th century, saying that you are selling carriages with horses, and then you see the railroads coming, and you're like, nah, we're fine, we're good, we're making money, we don't need to worry about the railroads. You might have to worry about the railroads.
Yes, agree. Time is changes, and you may be flexible with it. Okay. How about service-based companies, teams like Flutter or FlutterFlow and just, for example, like us, how can they bring AI into their work without overcomplicating it? When we provide a service of mobile development, for example.
I'm a bit of a contrarian on this topic because everybody says that AI is going to kill time and materials and hourly billing and will destroy the outsourcing industry. And I think that is the greatest opportunity in the history of humanity for services companies. Because now, finally, we'll have a context where the incentives of the customers and the vendors are completely aligned with AI. Because customers have problems that need to be solved. Vendors, services companies can solve those problems with technology in ways that the customers are not able to do it on their own. They don't have the experience, they don't have the expertise, they don't have many things. But this will be done in a model where it's not paying for hours anymore, which creates very perverse incentives and people will game the system. Now you have an outcome-based model where, okay, this is the problem, we solved it for you, this is how much it costs. The customer is happy because that problem brought value to them. Solving that problem brought them a lot of value, and they know from the beginning how much they're willing to pay for it. And then the services companies can build their business model and their delivery model knowing that if they solve that problem for that amount of money, it's efficient for them and it makes sense. And that's why I think this is a great opportunity for the industry to be realigned in a model where everybody is working together in a collaborative mode to solve problems and everybody wins when things go well, which is what you want.
Yes. Looks interesting, to be honest. It's something new for me to know that, first of all, AI should even kill outsource as it is, yes. Like
This is already happening because when you sell hours in time,
yes,
we all know that hourly billing is not efficient for the clients because then they have to pay, they don't know what they're paying for.
yes, exactly. Yes.
But when AI comes into the picture, and as a service provider, you do the same work with AI, you do it faster, so that means you have to charge less.
Exactly.
But you're creating more value for the customer because you finish faster, you do it better, you do it in ways that maybe are more scalable. That's why this will kill many projects which are done in a typical time and materials hourly billing fashion. But that's the opportunity because if you don't think in hours anymore, you don't think in time and materials, and you don't try to compare just the rate per hour, but to compare what is the problem we're solving, how are we solving it. By the way, we're also using AI, but it's not about AI, it's about the problem we're solving. Then this is helpful for everyone, for the customers, for the vendors, and for their employees.
Priorities are changing. Okay, okay. What do you think is the product managers, product owners' role is changing during these changes?
Unfortunately, product managers need to start thinking about pricing. Until now, they could ignore it. You could be a very successful product manager for 20 years without ever thinking about pricing. Now it was all about technology, business outcomes, business priorities, how can we use technology to solve it, working with engineering teams, with design teams. They could ignore the economics of it for a long time without any issues. Because in the SaaS world, it was negligible variable costs. Every new user didn't bring cost. With AI, that changes, which means that product managers, when they prioritize features, when they find new ideas for new products, for new product lines, or new modules, they have to start from the economics. Okay, what problem are we solving? How much is it going to cost us to solve it? Is the customer willing to pay that amount of money to have that problem solved in that way? Which means that they have to introduce pricing in their toolbox and the skills they need to learn and to manage.
Okay, that means that product owners, managers as well should also think and doing some stuff in terms of the economic of the projects and products as well. Okay, okay. How do you think the relationship will change within AI era between the teams or internal teams, between the developers, designers, product owners, and so on, who are building the products?
The honest answer is I don't know. I don't work in large teams anymore. I used to. I used to do exactly what you're doing. So I ran projects with mobile development for startups and large teams and being involved in that world. I haven't done that for a long time. I don't know what will happen. What I'm seeing in my work day to day and the people I'm working with is that everything is in flux, everything changes. I have similar people who do similar work in different companies. Some of them use AI all the time and could not imagine their world without AI. And others say that AI is just a glorified autocomplete that doesn't monetize. And I can see both arguments. What I am convinced of is that everything will change, and anyone that just sits and waits is already doomed and will lose. At least you have to understand, at least try it, at least experiment, and think. And okay, if you have a use case where you try, you experiment, and it doesn't work, great. You've discovered it, you know it for a fact, and then you move on. But you might be surprised.
Okay, as people sometimes surprise with the roles. Okay, okay. What skills do developers need most to stay relevant with AI journey, with AI technologies and so on?
My belief is that they need to start thinking a lot more about the problems they're solving and not the technology they're using. I've seen this too many times with small teams and large teams and very smart people who get so much caught up into the work of solving difficult engineering problems, and they lose track of whether it actually solves a business problem or a cultural problem or whatever problem they're trying to solve. But that's where the value is done, and that's where you create value by first identifying the problem, making sure that somebody somewhere wants to solve it, is willing to pay for it one way or another, whether directly as a customer or indirectly through an ecosystem of partners, community, something. And then you actually spend the effort and the time to solve it, and you look into the hard engineering, but always keep track of, okay, if we do this next step, which will bring us effort, and it requires effort and costs, is it worth it? Does it make economic sense to do that?
Okay, okay, good. That means that a developer should thinking as a product manager sometimes, yes.
That's the first logical step, yeah, is to think in terms of specifications and requirements, not so much in terms of the code and the
Yes.
technical solution.
Okay, okay. I think that's all. Thank you so much for your time and for performance again.